Hey, what is up, everyone? This is DR Mandrake with another Lost Art video. Today, in this video, I'll be giving you guys 5 tips and tricks and preparation for the Lost Ark NA release that will make your life a little bit easier and will help you min-max your progression. I know that we are a little bit disappointed that the game is not being released until 2022, but let's be honest, it kind of makes no sense for Amazon to release two MMOs at the same time, right? So before we get into the video, if you enjoyed the content and you would like to support the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below, and let's get into the video, everyone. All right, so tip number 1 is to rush your main character to end game that is level 50 by doing all the main quests only, not the side quests. You will do the side quests with your secondary character, your ult, since most of you know that buying one of the founders pack for the Lost Ark NA release will give you a 3 days head start. So it doesn't seem like much right now, but if you min-max your leveling, it could have a very good impact in your progression, since every day that passes and you're not in endgame, that's resources, dailies, and gold that you're missing out. All right. So that is for tip number 1. All right. So tip number 2, guys, is to create at least 2 to 3 alts to stay competitive. As a free to play player, you want to be making the maximum gold income that you can, since most of the gold is that you'll be earning in Lost Ark is by doing certain weekly content that can only be done once per week per character. So having alts not only makes you make more gold because you'll be making that content with your alts every week, but you can also use the resources that you earn to boost your main character and make a little bit of extra gold by selling those resources in the market if you want. I'll be making another video soon about what are the best alts to have in Lost Ark. You know, every class in Lost Ark is really fun to have, they're really fun to play, but there are some alts that are a little bit better and will make your life a little bit easier. But let's talk about that in another video. Let's go ahead and move on to tip number 3. All right, so moving on to tip number 3. It's not truly a tip, it's pretty much like an advice for Lost Ark to make your life a little bit easier, and it's having a pet. A pet in Lost Ark is a must. The auto loot in Lost Ark is a necessity, since you don't want to be spamming that loot button, going back or falling behind in a dungeon because you're trying to loot and your party is moving forward. Pets can also give you additional stats when you use the purple crystals that you can buy with the gold currency. And Lost Ark often launches events where they will give you the pets for free. They will give pets for free. But if you don't want to wait, I strongly suggest you to buy one. Plus, they're not really that expensive, and the free ones are kind of ugly. And the good thing about the pet is that you can actually select what does it loot, right? You can choose if you want to loot something that's common, legendary, and stuff like that. So you can actually filter the loot that you get from the pet. So you won't get your inventory just full right away because it's picking up things that you don't want or need. So that is it for tip number 3. It's my advice for you to get a pet in Lost Ark. It's pretty much like a necessity. So that is it for tip number 3. Let's go ahead and move on for tip number 4. Moving on to tip number 4, guys, and is to focus your affinity properly, right? There are some NPCs in the Lost Ark game that you pretty much interact with them and you can like build a friendship, and they will give you certain rewards when you do that. The way that you do that is that you interact with the NPC. There are certain ways that you can boost the friendship that you have, the relationship with that NPC, and is to give them items that you can get throughout the game, looting, and you can exchange with some currency. You can also use the emotes that you get in the game, and also by singing them a song. And you'll also be doing, they'll give you some quests that you have to do. And the thing is about this is that there are a lot of NPC like this, right? So you want to focus on the NPCs that'll give you the best rewards first. You can you can only do certain amount of interactions per day. So you have to choose wisely, like a route, and focus the NPCs that you want to level up first to get that reward. I strongly suggest for you to go for the ones that will give you the skill pods, gold, and also the growth pods that will go ahead and give you permanent stats for your character. So keep that in mind and choose your affinity wisely. Let's move on to tip number 5. All right, so moving on to tip number 5, guys, and that is to force 16 by 9 widescreen when you're playing. I know the game doesn't look that pretty when you do that because you get this black borders in the top and the bottom. But if you force this screen mode, you will actually get to see more to the sides. It's not truly a mandatory thing when you're playing PvE, even though the raids and Lost Ark, the raid bosses, they tend to move a lot, right? So if you're using the regular mode normal, you'll lose vision of the raid bosses sometimes. It depends on the raid boss that you're fighting. And it could be something that is really dangerous because they could be casting one of the one-shot skills, or they could be charging towards you with a tackle. And if you lose vision, that could be really dangerous, right? So for PvE and raid bosses is useful, but it's not truly mandatory. You can manage without that. But when it comes to PvP, I strongly suggest for you to use this mode because it will give you an advantage against your opponent if it's not using that. Since you'll get to see the whole map, you can see more to the sides. You can actually see your opponent from very far away. Especially if you're using one of the gunner classes, I strongly suggest you use this because most of the skill shots that you have and abilities, you can actually land them from really far away if you're using this mode because you have more vision, right? So that was it for this video, and those are my 5 tips and tricks for the newcomers for Lost Ark. I'm truly excited about the Lost Ark and a release. I hope you are too. If you have any questions or suggestions, go ahead and leave me one of them comments, and I'll see you guys on the next video. See you around, everyone. Peace.